You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. Well, real estate has been the bright spot on the economy, on the economic horizon. Is that slowing down? Well, in certain places, like certain hot markets, seems to be where taxes are lower, real estate's doing better. Let's talk with somebody in a high-tax state, our real estate expert for New York, Andrew Ragusa, is on with us now. Andrew, welcome back. Hey, if you got a question about real estate, you should shoot me an email. The email address is kl@kerrylutz.com. Well, Andrew, it's great to have you back. So what is doing with a New York, well, in particular, New York suburban real estate on Long Island?
Hey, Kerry, I'm so happy to be back on the show. Thanks for inviting me again. Right now, basically on the island, it's still a hot market. People are still grabbing properties, but I'm definitely noticing a dip in the the offer prices. So it used to be so that we would put a house on market and we were getting offers 50 to 70,000 over ask, and it would happen in the first week. Now we're still getting offers over ask, but I'm finding them to be on average around 30,000 or 35,000. So it's cooled from where it was, and it still takes about a week, maybe about 2 weeks. So I think what we're seeing here is the buyers are reaching a point where they're saying, I'm not willing to overpay so much. So it's an indicator of a cool down.
So the panic is over, I guess, is what you're saying. The FOMO, fear of missing out, not like what it was a short while ago.
Well, I do believe that people still are in a position where they want to grab something, they should grab it, because once you learn how mortgage payments are affected by the offer amount, you'll find that when someone sits around and waits for a crash and the market keeps climbing, you know, a $10,000 difference in your offer equates to about $50 a month, sometimes $40 a month. So if you were sitting around waiting to save $20,000 or $30,000, you're basically waiting to save about $150, $120 a month. And that's the real commitment you're making, is the monthly payment. So sometimes it doesn't make sense to stay on the sidelines because you want to save $100 when the market still keeps climbing. You see what I'm saying? And then you have to buy in a down market where there's so much uncertainty and no one's sure of it. There's just a whole other climate. I mean, everyone thinks opportunity when crash, but you forget how you feel when a crash comes.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. But it's understandable. People feel like they don't want to buy into like a rising market and just keep bidding up and bidding up. Hey, question, are you seeing more price cuts in your market there?
I am seeing a lot of price cuts. I think what happened recently is that, you know, a lot of sellers were under the impression that they can oversell their house for a good amount of money. And a real strong realtor knows that in order to make that house move, the price still needs to look attractive. But a lot of sellers were saying, hey, I don't care what you're telling me about the price. I want to sell it for this. So now I'm watching houses go up on market for numbers that I never would have thought this house would sell for, and they're not. They're not selling, and I'm watching them doing price reduction. So you could see a house go up at like 700 and then hit like 635, 645, and then it'll sell, and it'll still sell around that number. But I think you would have gotten more had you started at 650.
So there is a thing called overshooting the market, huh?
Totally.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of that. I see it in Florida for months. There was no such thing as price cuts. And now, even though everything is selling, prices are getting cut. I get a daily listing of price cuts.
Yeah. And it's just like anything else that hits market in the beginning. Like when you look at when cell phones come on market in the beginning, you have the latest and greatest iPhone and the latest and greatest Samsung that comes out. Their prices are high. They're marked up and people grab them. There's a rush in the beginning. And then once the price cools down, that's when they really sell the most of their units. And it's the same thing. Like you want to get your listing to come on market fresh. It's got to be an attractive price. Someone will grab it. But if you overprice it, the chances of you really moving it is going to drop, essentially.
Yeah, well, it's always better to have a bidding war than to price it too high and then You wind up getting lowball bids, right? Because what do you see that happen much, where somebody prices it too high, and then people start just giving them lowball offers?
Yeah, all the time. It's really common and buyers have so much data now for when they're home shopping. Like when you go on Zillow and Realtor or all these other websites, they even give you what their estimate of the property value is. Now, Zillow or Realtor don't need to be right, but to the buyer, it's a reference, right? So when they see something like so far off from what the estimated value is, it used to be a long time ago that no one could find comps. Buyers wouldn't be able to find what sold for what price. You had to go to a realtor for that. But now you go online and find the entire sales history of any neighborhood at any moment.
Yeah.
So all you have to do with a simple little research is see what your neighbors have been selling for, and they can spot an overpriced house in a heartbeat.
For sure. Hey, so do you think sites like Zillow, Trulia, which is now one in the same, have they hurt realtor business, or have they helped it?
I don't think Zillow was very helpful. I think they were helpful in the beginning because they used to help you market and advertise, but now that they've really increased their marketing costs to realtors dramatically, and now they are coming on market as a brokerage. And here's the problem: when you have real estate is such a nuanced field where like each property has its own specific issues. I have sold over 100 houses in the last 6 years, and every transaction was slightly different from the last. So I have not found a way to codify and make a complete system to sell a house through automation. But now you have a company like Zillow, which is essentially a humongous company that does not have personal boots on the ground. It does not have the contacts with the lawyers, contacts with the title company. It doesn't have the relationship with the mortgage companies. It has no human-to-human connection. And they are here to try to implement a solution that's supposed to be like an automated, computer system solution for something that has too many moving parts and too many people. I believe the field of a realtor, the job of a realtor, is not going to go anywhere for a long time because there's just so many moving parts and so many relationships in a transaction that takes place 2 to 3 months to close.
So what about this trend of buyers buying property sight unseen? Because if that can happen, then the concept of what Zillow is selling might have validity, but isn't it the ultimate consumer good for the average family that's buying a new house? You got to see it, or you can't just buy it from a catalog, can you?
Don't just survive, thrive. The Financial Survival Network.
FPX Nickel is developing the large-scale Dakar Nickel District in central British Columbia. Within the district is FPX Nickel's PEA stage Baptiste nickel deposit, which is projected to be among the world's top 10 largest nickel mines by annual output. The Baptiste deposit has the potential for the lowest quartile operating costs at just $2.74 per pound. And compared to recent global nickel mines, the project requires a low capex. FPX is also commencing its first ever drill program at its Van target in the Dakar Nickel District. Surface samples have indicated that the Van target footprint is larger in scale and 10 to 15% higher in grade than Baptiste. FPX Nickel trades in Canada as FPX and on the OTC under FPOCF. To learn more, go to fpxnickel.com. That's fpxnickel.com.
This is the Financial Survival Network, the information you need to thrive now more than ever.
Well, I'll give you my personal experience. I personally just bought 2 buildings in Pennsylvania, and they were sight unseen until I closed. I basically I had my realtor do a virtual walkthrough for me. She used the camera, pointed at all the parts of the property that I needed to see, and I made an offer and bought the properties, and I didn't go there until I had to close. So I essentially bought it sight unseen. But if I was working with a company, let's say like a major company like Zillow, say Zillow was doing the transaction, they had no relationship with the title company. They had no relationship with the town. They had no relationship with the bank, but the people I work with did. So when we had hiccups and we had situations pop up like, hey, the bank, the underwriter is looking for this document, looking for that document, I wouldn't expect Zillow to go to the town of Scranton, Pennsylvania, and ask them for copies of some whatever they needed on a letterhead. You understand what I'm saying? But it was my people that had relationships. My lawyer who had a relationship with someone in town. It was my local realtor who had a relationship with someone in the Department of Buildings. that made all these things possible for me. So I haven't found a way to make all of that codified and automated. You know what will happen when the government makes such an efficient system for handling paperwork that other companies can now build something off of their efficiency. So that's kind of what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, and we saw what happened with MERS and mortgage electronic registration system, and that turned into like a major nightmare overnight for them. Hey, one thing, though, I have to say is if you look at Realtor.com, which is the official site of the Realtor multiple listing services, they're all on Realtor, isn't it? I thought so.
I don't think Realtor. It is. I think they're independent. I think they just bought the name. Yeah.
I thought they were like hooked in because they actually give the name of the listing agent, all that, but I could be wrong. But I thought that was the official site, but the real estate industry site compared to Zillow is really deficient there in so many ways. So many ways, because Zillow doesn't put the listings, the actual listing agent up there, right? And
no, well, since Zillow became a brokerage, they have been advertising a listing just like any other realtor can share MLS data. Mm-hmm. Like realtors pay for access to their local MLS, and they can send listings to whoever they please. So essentially, Zillow is doing the same thing. But what they're doing is they're waiting for people like you to go online, say, oh, I like this house. Click this button that says, I would like more information. And what they do on the back end is they charge realtors, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month to receive your information. So all Zillow is doing is selling your data. Mm-hmm. That's how they make their money.
Yeah, that's it. They're a data mining, data broker type outfit. So, and they don't do the industry any favors, obviously, because I don't know how the MLS lets them omit the original broker. I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I had an answer for you, but I don't have my hands in the back end of Realtor.com or MLS or Zillow. I could just tell you that, even me personally as a broker, I know that I can share listings that are MLS, that are on the MLS. So Zillow has a membership to the MLS since they are a licensed broker. So that's probably has something to do with it.
Yeah, well, there ought to be a law against it, but hey, what can you do? But in terms of giving the consumer a lot of info that they might not otherwise be able to get, I found them when I've been looking for real estate. They're not always up to date because on Realtor, if you don't update your listing, you get fined by the MLS. So all those listings are up to date. On Zillow, they hang around for months. It's a lot of bait and switch on Zillow, what I've seen.
I personally, I don't use it, so I don't really have the experience. But I know that consumers, generally speaking, when they start on those websites, like any of them, Zillow or Realtor, eventually they get connected to a strong buyer's agent or a good listing agent, and then from there, that agent should be establishing themselves as a resource to you as a consumer, and they should be the one helping you get all the data you need. We have tools on our end where, like, if I had a buyer, I can give them access to the MLS portal so they can get everything they need straight from the source in the best, most reliable resource. And that's coming from me as a broker, as an agent. So, when people say, where's the best way to find houses? I say, find a realtor. Find someone that's recommended to you, someone that you really like and trust, that knows people, that knows the town or knows what you're looking for. And they should connect you to their tools.
Couldn't agree with you more. Hey, so this, we're just concluding the big selling season in the Northeast, right? Summer, because people want to buy the house, get in time for their kids to get into school, right? So what did sales look like this summer?
Well, this summer, it was pretty interesting. I was doing a video on YouTube, and I plan to get back into it. I've just been a little busy. But I was doing a video on YouTube where I go over all of the closed sales for the last 2 weeks in the 2 counties that I usually work in the most. And from what I was seeing is that properties are still moving very quickly. And the difference between the spring and the summer was that cool down in the offers where, we were going 50, 60 over ask in the spring. In the summer, we were at 30, 35, or even 25 over ask. So you can still look at these asking prices kind of like starting points. And we'll see how that plays out through the winter because, there is a lot of value in marketing a property with a starting point because that number can go up to anything. So I think the days of padding the price, making it look higher than it should, and then asking the buyer to drop and negotiate it, I think those days are over.
Interesting. Yeah, well, the idea of paying asking price was never an appealing choice to me. But last house, I was happy to get it for asking price because I wasn't going to go in a bidding war. And so do you ever advise people to price it real cheap in the hopes of a bidding war? Or how do you
all the time
do that? So you put it a few thousand or 10, 20,000 under what you think it should go for, just to trigger the buyer's war?
Yeah, when you're working for the seller, you want to bring them as many offers as possible. The more offers come in, the higher they can go. And also, it just provides security. Let's say, for example, we get a great offer from someone and they go through a home inspection, then they ask for too many things to be done. This gives the seller the option to move on to the next buyer who might take the house as is. So the goal of the listing agent is to bring in abundance of offers, not only at, strong prices, but on good terms. So by doing so, creating a bidding war and making the price look really attractive, you bring the most options for your seller. And ultimately, you're hired to do that job, unless you're a buyer's agent. Then your job, you're hired to get them a house. And I feel bad for buyer's agents these days because it's hard. It's very hard, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, there's not a heck of a lot of inventory. It's one thing I've noticed in Florida. Even though there's more price cuts, there's still really no more inventory than there was 3-4 months ago.
Right.
So, all right. Well, hey, people want to find out more about you, Andrew, connect with you on the web. Where should you go?
Well, they can find me on Instagram. It seems where I have the most following is over there. My name is Andrew Ragusa, RAGUSA. You'll see the little blue check after my name, so you know it's me. Right. And you can find my website, remiagency.com.
All right. And there's a link to it in the show notes to this interview on Financial Survival Network. And make sure you send us an email. Any questions you have, kl@kerrylutz.com. Andrew, great speaking with you again. And we'll check in a couple of months, the traditionally slow period in the winter, and we'll see what the market's doing then.
Awesome. Sounds great. I'm very grateful for being on the show. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.